This story is inspired by real-life events, contains fictional elements, and is not suitable for viewers under the age of 18.
He thought exhaustion was the price of love. He didn't know silence could cost him his marriage. At 5:12 in the morning, Liam Carter was already awake. The house in Naperville was silent except for the low hum of the refrigerator and the distant hiss of winter wind pressing against the windows. He lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling, calculating numbers before his feet even touched the floor. Mortgage, $2,740. Preschool tuition, $1,100. Car payment, insurance, groceries, gas. He slid quietly out of bed, careful not to wake Ava. She slept facing the opposite wall. There had been a time when she slept curled against his chest, her hand resting over his heart like she was making sure it was still beating. Now there was a strip of untouched mattress between them, cool and undisturbed. In the kitchen, Liam poured black coffee into a travel mug with the logo of the logistics company where he worked full-time. The irony wasn't lost on him. He moved products across the country with precision and efficiency, but he couldn't seem to move a conversation forward in his own home. By 6 o'clock in the morning, he was scraping frost off his windshield. His phone buzzed, a notification from the rideshare app reminding him of peak bonus hours that night. He accepted automatically. Love is responsibility, he told himself. Responsibility requires endurance. Ava woke at 8:17 in the morning to the sound of their 4-year-old Mason calling for cereal. The house already felt too large. She walked downstairs in leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, scrolling absent-mindedly through Instagram while pouring milk. Photos filled her screen. Couples in matching pajamas, a former college friend announcing a surprise trip to Maui, another posing with roses just because. She couldn't remember the last time Liam had surprised her. But then, she couldn't remember the last time he'd been home before 9:30 p.m. That thought came with guilt. He works so hard, she reminded herself. Still, effort didn't warm the empty side of the bed. That night, Liam returned home at 10:46 p.m., shoulders tight, fingers stiff from gripping a steering wheel for hours. Ava was sitting at the kitchen island, laptop open. "You're late," she said softly. "Traffic surge downtown," he replied, dropping his keys in the bowl by the door. "Extra $40 though." She nodded. $40. Was that what tonight cost? He walked over and kissed her forehead. It felt like kissing porcelain, polite, careful. "How was your day?" he asked. "Fine." What does fine mean? She hesitated just long enough for him to notice. Just the usual. He wanted to ask more. He wanted to sit, but exhaustion pressed behind his eyes like a migraine waiting to happen. "I'm gonna shower," he said. She watched him disappear down the hallway. Weeks passed in quiet repetition. Liam worked. Ava managed the house. They spoke about schedules, pediatric appointments, and grocery lists. They did not speak about loneliness. One Saturday morning, Ava mentioned she had joined a gym nearby. "Just to get out of the house," she said. "Clear my head." "That's good," Liam replied without looking up from his budgeting spreadsheet. "You deserve it." She studied him. Deserve what? She wondered. A treadmill? An hour away? She almost said something else. Instead, she said nothing. The first time Liam noticed a change was subtle. Ava laughed at her phone. Not a polite exhale, a real laugh. He looked up from the couch. "What's funny?" "Just something online." But she turned the screen away. A flicker, small, barely there. But something inside him registered it. That night, as he drove strangers through the glowing arteries of downtown Chicago, he found himself replaying that moment. When was the last time she'd laughed like that with him? The city lights blurred across his windshield. He told himself he was being paranoid. Fatigue distorts perception. Still, when he came home past midnight and saw Ava asleep, phone charging on her nightstand, a new instinct stirred in him. Not suspicion exactly, awareness. He stood there longer than necessary, listening to her breathe. Love, he believed, meant sacrifice, but for the first time, a question slipped quietly into his mind. What if sacrifice wasn't the same thing as presence? He turned off the light and lay down in the space beside her. Between them, the mattress remained cool. The gym smelled like eucalyptus and disinfectant. Clean, controlled, intentional. Ava stood near the entrance that first morning, fingers tightening around the strap of her tote bag. Rows of treadmills faced a wall of mirrors. Women in coordinated sets moved with quiet confidence. Men lifted weights beneath industrial lighting that softened nothing. For a moment, she considered turning around. Then someone said, "First day?" She turned. Noah Bennett stood a few feet away, a towel slung over his shoulder, dark hair pushed back as if it never quite stayed in place. He wasn't just physically attractive, though he was. It was the way he held eye contact without rushing it, as if he actually had time. "Is it that obvious?" Ava asked. He smiled. "Only because you're looking at the treadmills like they personally offended you." She laughed. The sound surprised her. "I'm Noah," he said, extending his hand. "I help with orientation sometimes. What's your goal?" Goal? No one had asked her that in a long time. I don't know," she admitted. "To feel like myself again, maybe." He didn't joke, didn't dismiss it. "That's a good goal," he said evenly. "We can start there." It began innocently, a few guided workouts, correcting her posture, encouraging her to increase the incline. He asked about her kids, about what she used to do before staying home. "Marketing," he repeated. "So you're creative." "I used to be," she said. "You still are. You just haven't been given space." The sentence lingered. At home, conversations revolved around logistics, schedules, bills, exhaustion. At the gym, someone was asking her who she used to be, and who she might still become. Liam noticed the change before he understood it. Ava started going 3 mornings a week, then 4. She bought new workout clothes. Nothing inappropriate, just intentional. Her hair was done more often. There was color on her lips again. One evening, while packing his rideshare snacks into the car, he asked casually, "You're really into the gym now?" She shrugged. "It's good for me. I'm glad." He meant it, but something inside him felt displaced, like a chair in a familiar room that had been moved just slightly out of alignment. It wasn't the physical proximity that changed first. It was the texting. "Make sure you stretch tonight. You crushed leg day. You're stronger than you think. You deserve time for yourself." The messages came mid-afternoon, when the house was quiet and the children napped. At first, Ava told herself it was accountability, motivation, but she began anticipating the vibration of her phone, the way her chest warmed before she even read the words. One afternoon, Noah sent, "You ever feel like you're carrying everything alone?" Her fingers hovered above the screen. "Yes." The reply came instantly. "You don't have to." She stared at that sentence longer than she should have. That night, Liam came home earlier than usual, 9:15 p.m. Ava was on the couch, smiling at her phone. He watched her for a second before she noticed him. "You're home early," she said, locking the screen quickly. "Slow night." He sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. She smelled different, citrus, lighter than her usual perfume. "How is the gym?" he asked. "Good. What did you work on?" "Upper body." He nodded, trying to picture it, trying to place himself inside her day. Silence stretched. "You seem happier," he said finally. She looked at him then, really looked at him. "Do I?" "Yeah." There was no accusation in his tone, just observation. "That's good, right?" she asked carefully. "Of course." He reached for her hand. She let him hold it. But her mind drifted, not away from him entirely, just elsewhere. The first time Noah touched her outside of instruction, it was subtle. She was struggling with a cable row, shoulders trembling. "Relax," he murmured, stepping behind her. His hands adjusted her elbows, firm, controlled. Her breath caught. Not because it was overtly intimate, because it wasn't. It was professional, but it was attentive. Afterward, they sat on the bench near the window overlooking the parking lot. "You don't talk about your husband much," he said. "He works a lot. That must be hard." "He does it for us." "That's not what I asked." She inhaled sharply. "It's lonely," she admitted. Noah didn't smile this time. He just listened. And sometimes, being heard is more dangerous than being touched. Liam lay awake one night, staring at the dim blue glow of the alarm clock. Ava's back was to him again. He studied the outline of her shoulder in the dark. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. She shifted. "Why wouldn't I be?" "You feel far." A long pause. "I'm just tired." He almost pushed further, almost asked if she was unhappy, almost said he could cut back the night shifts. But the numbers ran through his mind like reflex. Mortgage, tuition, security. "I'm doing this for us," he said softly. "I know," she replied, and she meant it. That was the tragedy. She knew he loved her. She just didn't feel him anymore. The messages became more personal. "Wish you were here. You'd love this playlist. You deserve someone who sees you." One afternoon, after a particularly heavy conversation about feeling invisible, Noah sent, "You're not just a mom, you're a woman." She read it 3 times. The line between validation and desire blurred quietly. No declarations, no plans, just dependency forming molecule by molecule. Liam began noticing smaller things. She kept her phone face down. She smiled at nothing. She guarded her screen when he entered a room, not obviously, but instinctively. He told himself he was projecting. Exhaustion breeds paranoia. Still, one evening while loading the dishwasher, he said almost casually, "You ever feel like we don't talk anymore?" Ava froze for half a second. "We talk about logistics. That's life, Liam." He wiped his hands slowly. "Is there something you're not telling me?" Her eyes met his. For a flash, a guilt, then defense. "No." He held her gaze a beat longer, then nodded. "Okay." He chose trust, or maybe he chose denial. Upstairs later that night, Ava stared at a new message glowing against the dark. "Coffee tomorrow after your session?" Her pulse quickened. She knew the answer before she typed it. Yes. In the quiet of their bedroom, Liam turned onto his side, instinctively reaching for her. She lay awake, screen dimming in her hand. Between them, the silence deepened. It's not loud, not violent, just widening, invisible, but real. It happened on a Thursday. There was nothing dramatic about it. No perfume on a collar, no lipstick on a glass, no late-night confession. Just a forgotten iPad on the kitchen counter. Liam hadn't planned to look. He had come home early. Rainstorm downtown had killed rideshare demand, and the house was unusually quiet. Ava had taken the kids to her sister's for dinner. He poured himself water, loosened his tie, and noticed the iPad screen light up with a notification. The device was shared, used for recipes, preschool apps, grocery lists. The screen glowed again, a name he didn't recognize. Noah B. He didn't pick it up immediately. He stared at it as if it were something alive. Another vibration. A preview appeared before the screen dimmed. "I can still feel you shaking when I touched you today." The words were calm, not frantic, not vulgar. Worse, intentional. Liam's body did not react the way movies suggested it should. There was no immediate rage, no shattered glass. There was a strange, sterile stillness. He picked up the iPad. His hands were steady. The device unlocked easily, the same passcode they'd used for years. The message thread opened. Scrolling required only a single finger. 3 months of conversation. At first, workout tips, encouragement, jokes. Then, "You deserve more than waiting up for someone who's never home. I think about you after you leave. You looked at me like you wanted me to kiss you." Ava's replies weren't hesitant. They were gradual, measured. "I shouldn't be doing this. I feel alive when I'm around you. I miss you already." His jaw tightened. He kept reading. Coffee dates, afternoon meetups after gym sessions, excuses coordinated around his night shifts. And then, I replay that moment in my head. I've never wanted someone like this. I don't regret it. There it was. Confirmation without detail. He didn't need anatomy. He didn't need choreography. The betrayal wasn't in the act. It was in the choice, in the repetition, in the emotional investment. He placed the iPad back on the counter exactly where he'd found it. The refrigerator hummed. Rain tapped against the windows. He sat down at the kitchen table and folded his hands together, pressing his thumbs against his lips. 3 months. He recalculated backwards. That meant it began shortly after she joined the gym regularly, while he was working double shifts in January to cover property tax increases, while he was driving strangers home from bars at midnight. His chest tightened, not with jealousy, with humiliation. How many nights had he come home to her sleeping peacefully after texting another man? How many mornings had he kissed her forehead after she'd spent the previous afternoon in someone else's arms? He stood abruptly, then stopped himself. Number. Not like this. He would not confront her mid-emotion. He would not shout. He needed clarity, not drama. When Ava returned that evening, Liam was in the living room with the children, building a block tower. He smiled when she walked in. A normal smile. "How was your sister's?" he asked. "Good." "Loud," she laughed. He studied her face, the same face he'd memorized years ago. He searched for visible guilt. There was none, just routine. He felt something inside him fracture quietly. Not explosive, structural. That night after she fell asleep, he waited. Then he got out of bed carefully and walked to the kitchen. He picked up the iPad again. This time he didn't read emotionally. He read analytically. Dates, times, patterns. Most messages came between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., his busiest warehouse hours. Several came after 9:30 p.m., when he was driving. One message from 2 weeks ago. "Same place as last time?" Her reply. "Yes. He won't be home until after 10. His breathing slowed deliberately. He scrolled further. Photos. Not explicit, but intimate enough. A selfie of Ava in gym leggings, flushed, captioned, "Guess who pushed me too hard?" His stomach turned. Another message from Noah. "You're not just my client anymore." Her response. "I know." Liam locked the screen. He didn't cry. He didn't pace. He leaned against the counter and let the reality settle into his bones. This wasn't a mistake. It was a relationship, structured around his absence. He felt anger, but it was cold, precise, the kind that sharpened thought instead of blurring it. The next morning, he behaved normally. He made coffee, kissed the kids, asked Ava if she needed anything from the store. She looked at him longer than usual. "You okay?" she asked. "Why? You seem different." He met her gaze evenly. "Just tired." That part was true. But the exhaustion had changed. It was no longer physical. It was existential. Over the next few days, he watched. Not obsessively, clinically. She angled her phone away when typing. She smiled at certain notifications. She left for the gym with subtle urgency. He didn't check the iPad again immediately. He didn't need to. The evidence was already conclusive. He wasn't gathering proof anymore. He was gathering composure. He rehearsed questions in his head, not accusations. Questions. How long? Where? Why him? Did you ever plan to tell me? Were you going to leave? He needed the entire truth, even if it hurt, especially if it hurt, because partial truth was worse than betrayal. On Sunday night, Liam stood in the doorway of their bedroom and watched Ava brush her hair in front of the mirror. Her reflection met his. For a moment, something flickered in her expression. Fear or recognition? He stepped into the room slowly. "We need to talk," he said. His voice was calm, too calm. Ava's hand froze mid-stroke. "About what?" He held her eyes in the mirror. "About Noah." Silence filled the space between them. Not loud, not chaotic, just final. Her face drained of color. The hairbrush slipped from her fingers and hit the floor. And Liam, standing there with steady breathing and a fractured heart, realized something with terrifying clarity. The loudest betrayals do not scream. They reveal themselves quietly, through glass screens, through timestamps, through words typed when someone believes no one is watching. The word Noah lingered in the bedroom like smoke. Ava didn't turn around immediately. Her hands gripped the edge of the dresser. In the mirror, Liam could see the exact second she understood there was no point pretending. "How much did you see?" she asked quietly. "Enough." He stepped further into the room, closing the door behind him. Not violently, not symbolically, just deliberately. "I'm not going to yell," he said. "I need answers." She nodded once, small, controlled. "Okay." He pulled the desk chair away from the corner and sat down. Not on the bed, not beside her, across from her. Distance defined. "How long?" he asked. Ava swallowed. 3 months. He inhaled slowly through his nose. "Physical?" "Yes." The word didn't echo, it settled. "How many times?" Her eyes flickered with something like shame. "I don't know exactly." "Try." She pressed her lips together. "More than once." "That's not what I asked." Silence stretched thin between them. "8," she whispered. "Maybe 9." He nodded once, absorbing it like data. "Here?" he asked. "No." "At the gym?" "Sometimes." "Hotels?" "Yes." He looked down at his hands. They were steady. He was almost impressed by that. "Did you ever bring him into our house?" "No." The answer came fast, defensive. He studied her face to see if it was true. She didn't look away. "Do you love him?" he asked. Her breath caught. "I don't know." "That's not acceptable," he replied evenly. "You either do or you don't." "I care about him," she said. It wasn't just sex." He nodded again. "Were you going to leave me?" "No." "Then what was the plan?" His voice remained level. "Continue until I found out? Or until you got bored?" She flinched. "I wasn't thinking like that. That's the problem." The words landed harder than shouting would have. Ava sat on the edge of the bed now, her hands trembling slightly in her lap. "I was lonely," she said. "You were never here. I was working." "I know. Say it clearly," Liam said. "I was working to support this family." "I know that!" Her voice cracked for the first time. "But I felt invisible, Liam. I felt like a roommate who handled childcare and bills. When was the last time you looked at me like I was still your wife?" He didn't respond immediately. "Because that question hurt in a different way. This isn't about me being perfect," he said carefully. "It's about you choosing someone else instead of talking to me." "I tried," she insisted. "When?" Her silence answered for her. He stood up and began pacing slowly, not frantic, just processing. "Did you text him while lying next to me?" She hesitated. "Yes." "Did you tell him you missed him while I was driving at night?" "Yes." "Did you ever compare us?" Her eyes filled. "Yes." The word felt like a blade. He stopped pacing. "Did you sleep with him on days I worked both jobs?" She covered her face with her hands. "Yes." The room seemed smaller now. Not suffocating, just stripped. Liam walked to the window and looked out at the dark street. A neighbor's porch light flickered on across the way. Somewhere, a car door shut. Normal life continuing. "I need you to understand something," he said, still facing the glass. "This isn't about jealousy." Ava lowered her hands slowly. "This is about humiliation. I was killing myself out there, and you were telling another man he made you feel alive." Tears slid down her cheeks. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "You don't accidentally sleep with someone 9 times. The statement wasn't cruel. It was factual." He turned to face her again. "Did you ever think about what this would do to our kids?" She shook her head faintly. "I wasn't thinking about leaving." You don't have to leave to destroy something. That silenced her completely. Minutes passed. No shouting, no slammed doors, just two adults sitting inside the wreckage of something they both once protected. I need the whole truth, Liam said finally. Everything, not pieces, not edited versions. She nodded through tears. It started after leg day one afternoon, she said. We got coffee. He asked if I was happy. I said I didn't know. He touched my hand. I didn't pull away. She continued, voice trembling but steadying as she went. It felt good to be seen, to be wanted. He told me I deserved more than waiting up for someone who was always exhausted, and I believed him. Not because you're not enough, but because I didn't feel enough. Liam absorbed every word. Did you ever feel guilty? Yes. Enough to stop? A pause. No. The honesty hurt more than any lie. He sat back down in the chair. Why didn't you ask me to quit the second job? He asked quietly. I knew why you were doing it. That's not what I asked. She stared at him helplessly. I didn't want to be the reason we struggled financially. And instead, you became the reason we might not have a marriage. Her breath hitched. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I need to ask you something carefully, he said. If I hadn't found out, would it still be happening? She closed her eyes. Yes. The word landed heavy between them. There it was, not a mistake, not a phase, an ongoing choice. Liam stood up again, slower this time. I can survive anger, he said. I can even survive sex. But deception? Repetition? That's different. I'll end it, she said quickly. I already told him we needed space. When? Yesterday. After you knew I saw? Her silence confirmed it. He gave a small, humorless exhale. So I'm the reason it ends, not you. That's not fair. No, he agreed, it isn't. He moved toward the door. Are you leaving? She asked, panic rising. I'm going downstairs. For what? To think. He paused before opening the door. I haven't decided what this means yet, he said without turning around. But understand this clearly, Ava. I'm not staying because I'm afraid to be alone, and I'm not leaving because I'm angry. He finally looked at her. I'm going to decide based on truth. The bedroom felt colder as he stepped into the hallway. Behind him, Ava remained seated on the bed, staring at the space where he had been. For the first time in 3 months, there were no secrets in the room, just consequences. And the terrifying awareness that love, once fractured, does not scream as it dies. It simply waits to see if anyone can rebuild it. Liam didn't tell Ava he was going. He didn't threaten. He didn't ask for permission. He simply searched the gym's website, found Noah Bennett's full name, and drove there on a gray Tuesday afternoon after leaving work early. The sky hung low over Naperville, heavy with the kind of February cold that made everything look stripped down to bone. Inside the gym, the air was warm and artificially bright. Music pulsed softly through hidden speakers. Noah was near the free weights, spotting a client. He looked exactly like Liam expected. Confident posture, controlled movements, the kind of presence that suggested he belonged in any room he entered. When Noah's eyes landed on Liam, something shifted. Recognition, not surprise, recognition. He excused himself from his client and walked over, towel around his neck. Liam, right? He said evenly. So Ava had talked about him. That's right, Liam replied. They stood facing each other, two men measuring not strength, but truth. Can we talk? Liam asked. Noah glanced toward the front desk. There's a juice bar area. They walked side by side, not touching, not rushing. At a small table near the window, Liam sat first. Noah remained standing for a second before taking the seat across from him. Neither ordered anything. I'm not here to cause a scene, Liam began. Noah nodded. I figured. You knew she was married. Yes. Did that matter to you? A pause. I didn't think it was my marriage. Honest. Arrogant. Liam absorbed it.
Did you tell her to leave me?
No, but you told her she deserved more. I told her she seemed unhappy. That's not the same thing. Noah leaned back slightly, folding his arms. She was lonely. I was working, Liam replied calmly. I know. How? She talks about you. The words hit in an unexpected place. What does she say? That you're responsible, that you carry everything, that you're exhausted all the time. Liam held his gaze. And that she misses you. Silence settled between them. Then why pursue her? Liam asked. Noah didn't answer immediately. Because she responded, he said finally. Because she looked at me like she needed someone to see her. That someone didn't have to be you. No, but I was there. There it was. Presence. Liam studied the man across from him, not as a rival, but as a variable. You don't love her, Liam said. Noah didn't flinch. No. You didn't plan a future. No. You enjoyed how she made you feel. Yes. And she enjoyed how you made her feel.
Yes, the simplicity of it was almost clinical. Not epic, not romantic, transactional in its emotional exchange. You knew she wasn't leaving, Liam continued. I suspected she wouldn't. So what was this? Noah exhaled slowly. Escape. For who? For both of us. The honesty disarmed any fantasy Liam might have constructed in his head. There was no grand passion here, no sweeping destiny, just two people filling gaps in themselves. Did you ever think about my kids? Liam asked quietly. Noah's jaw tightened. I don't involve myself in that part. That's convenient. Noah didn't argue. The gym's front door opened and closed periodically. Life continued around them, weights clanking, treadmills humming, casual laughter. It struck Liam how ordinary everything looked. Affairs didn't happen in candlelit rooms with dramatic music. They happened under fluorescent lights, between scheduling conflicts, in stolen hours that looked like errands. You know what's interesting? Liam said after a moment. What? She thinks this was about love. Noah's expression shifted slightly. It wasn't, he said. I know. She wanted to feel wanted. I wanted to feel needed. That's not the same as love. Liam nodded once. For the first time since discovering the messages, something inside him unclenched. Not forgiveness, clarity. Did you ever plan to stop? Liam asked. Eventually. When it got complicated? Yes. It already was complicated. Noah gave a faint, humorless smile. Not for me. There it was again. Absence of consequence. Liam stood slowly. Noah looked up at him. I'm not here to threaten you, Liam said. I'm not going to punch you. I didn't think you would. This isn't about you winning something, or me losing something. Noah remained silent. This is about understanding what I'm actually dealing with. And what's that? Noah asked. Liam considered the question carefully. Not a love story, he said. A vacancy. He let the word settle. You filled space I wasn't occupying. That's on me to examine. But crossing the line? That's on her. Noah didn't argue, because there was nothing to argue. As Liam turned to leave, Noah spoke. For what it's worth, he said, she still loves you. Liam paused. Love without integrity isn't love, he replied quietly. It's attachment. He walked toward the exit without looking back. Outside, the air felt sharper, colder, but cleaner. He sat in his car for several minutes before starting the engine. He expected rage. Instead, he felt something more unsettling. Relief. Not because it hurt less, but because the illusion had dissolved. There was no epic rival, no irresistible soulmate threatening to steal his wife. There was just a man who happened to be present when he wasn't, and a woman who chose comfort over confrontation. Liam rested his forehead briefly against the steering wheel. This wasn't about destiny. It was about distance. And distance, he realized, had been growing long before Noah ever sent the first message. He started the car. As he drove home, he didn't rehearse accusations. He rehearsed decisions. Because the third man wasn't the center of this story. The absence was.
The first thing to disappear was the photos. Ava stopped posting. No more filtered snapshots of Sunday pancakes, no more curated date night throwbacks, no more captions about gratitude. Her Instagram grid froze in time. December smiles beneath Christmas lights. A version of them that no longer existed. People noticed. Not immediately, but gradually. "Everything okay? Haven't seen you two in a while," a neighbor asked casually while collecting mail. Ava forced a smile. "Just busy." Busy was the most socially acceptable lie in America. Inside the house, silence shifted texture. It was no longer thick with secrecy. It was thin with uncertainty. Liam moved through rooms like a man carrying fragile glass inside his chest.
He wasn't hostile, he wasn't cold, he was precise. He made breakfast for the kids, helped Mason with spelling worksheets, packed lunches, attended a parent-teacher conference alone when Ava said she wasn't feeling well. To the outside world, he was steady. To Ava, he was retreating. "You don't look at me anymore," she said one night as he folded laundry. He didn't stop folding. "I'm trying to decide what I see." The answer left her breathless. At the grocery store, two women from preschool lingered a second too long near Ava in the produce aisle. She caught fragments. Thought they were solid. He works so much. Men don't usually react well. She wasn't sure how they knew, but secrets traveled faster than explanations. Maybe someone at the gym noticed tension. Maybe Noah mentioned it to someone. Maybe Ava's sudden withdrawal from social media raised suspicion. It didn't matter. The illusion of privacy had cracked. And shame is loud even when no one is speaking directly to you. Liam received a text from his friend Marcus one evening. "Everything good at home? Heard something weird from Jenna." He stared at the message for a long time. Rumors rarely included context. He typed back, "We're handling it." Marcus responded with a simple, "If you need anything." Liam placed his phone face down. Support felt both comforting and humiliating. He hadn't told anyone. Yet somehow, the narrative was forming without him. Ava stopped going to the gym. No dramatic announcement, no closure. She just canceled her membership online. Noah sent one final message. "I guess this is it." She didn't respond. Not because she didn't feel something, but because whatever had existed between them couldn't survive daylight. It had thrived in stolen hours. It shrank under consequence. One afternoon, Ava stood in the bathroom staring at her reflection. Mascara smudged beneath tired eyes. She tried to see the woman Noah had described. "You're not just a mom, you're a woman." Now the sentence felt hollow. She had risked her identity for validation and lost both. When Liam entered the bedroom unexpectedly, she flinched. Not out of fear, out of awareness. He noticed. "I'm not your enemy," he said quietly. "I know." "Then stop looking at me like I am." Her eyes filled. "I don't know who I am right now," she admitted. That was the most honest thing she had said in weeks. The children sensed something too. Mason asked one night, "Why doesn't Daddy sleep in your room anymore?" Liam had started dozing off on the couch occasionally. Not intentionally, but often enough. Ava looked at him across the dinner table. He answered carefully. "Sometimes adults need space to think." "Are you mad at Mommy?" Liam paused. "No," he said. "I'm just figuring things out." It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth. And that balance exhausted him more than any night shift. At a neighborhood barbecue, the air felt charged with subtle curiosity. Couples stood in clusters. Laughter rose and fell like rehearsed background noise. Ava felt eyes on her. Liam stayed near the grill, engaged in conversation about mortgage rates and gas prices. Normal topics, safe topics. At one point, a mutual friend pulled Ava aside. "You guys okay?" The question was gentle, not accusatory, which made it worse. "We're working through some things," Ava replied. The friend nodded in that way people do when they've already heard enough to form an opinion. When Ava returned to Liam's side, she stood slightly closer than usual. He didn't move away, but he didn't lean in either. Public unity, private fracture. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, Ava sat across from Liam at the kitchen table. "I feel like everyone knows," she said.
Maybe they do. Does that bother you? He considered. Yes. Because it's embarrassing? No. He looked at her directly. Because they're forming conclusions about our marriage without understanding it. She absorbed that. I never meant to make you look weak, she whispered. He held her gaze steadily. You didn't make me weak, he said. You made me aware. The distinction unsettled her. Days turned into weeks. Therapy appointments were scheduled but not yet begun. The house functioned efficiently, like co-workers managing a joint project. They discussed bills, school forms, weekend logistics, but at night, when silence returned, the absence felt heavier than before. Not because of Noah, but because of what his presence had revealed. Liam found himself watching Ava differently now. Not suspiciously, objectively. Who are you when no one is looking, he wondered. Ava found herself watching Liam too. Not for anger, for hope. One evening she said softly, Do you still love me? He didn't answer immediately. I don't know what love looks like right now, he said carefully. But I care about the life we built. That's not the same. No, he agreed. It isn't. Outside their house, everything appeared stable. Inside, foundations were shifting quietly, not collapsing, rearranging. And both of them understood something that hadn't been clear before. Affairs don't just wound two people. They echo outward, through friendships, through neighborhoods, through children's quiet questions, through the way you walk into a room knowing others might see you differently. And in the middle of it all, Liam withdrew not from responsibility, but from illusion. He still showed up for bedtime stories, still packed lunches, still kissed scraped knees. But the part of him that once moved instinctively toward Ava now paused, measured, waiting for certainty. Because love might survive betrayal, but dignity required examination. And that examination was far from over. The therapist's office smelled faintly of chamomile and printer paper. Dr. Helen Grant sat across from them in a soft gray chair, legs crossed, legal pad resting on her knee. The room was intentionally neutral. Muted walls, abstract art, a box of tissues positioned within reach but not centered. Liam noticed details like that now. Positioning, intent, subtle structure. So, Dr. Grant began gently, what would rebuilding trust look like for you? The question hung in the air like something fragile. Liam didn't answer immediately. Ava looked at him, not pleading, waiting. Transparency, he said finally. Full access. No deleted messages, no unexplained gaps. Ava nodded quickly. You can have that. But that's mechanics, he continued, not trust. Dr. Grant tilted her head slightly. Then what is trust to you? Liam leaned back, staring at a point just beyond the therapist's shoulder. Trust, he said slowly, is believing someone will protect your dignity when you're not in the room. Silence followed. Ava's eyes filled, but she didn't interrupt. And right now, he continued, I don't know if I believe that. The sleepless nights were worse than the confrontation. Anger had structure. Shock had clarity. But indecision was exhausting. Liam lay awake most nights on the couch, staring at the ceiling fan as it turned in slow, indifferent circles. He replayed everything. Not the sex, not the hotel rooms. The moments. The way she had laughed at her phone. The way she had said fine. The way she had answered yes when he asked if it would have continued. He analyzed it like a case study. Was this a fracture caused by stress or a revelation of character? At 2:14 a.m., he sat up and opened his laptop. He created a document titled simply, Stay versus Leave. Under stay, he typed, kids keep stability, history, shared life, potential for growth. She confessed fully. Under leave, repeated deception, loss of respect, uncertain ability to trust, self-worth. He stared at the screen for a long time, then added one more line under leave. I will never unknow this. He closed the laptop. Ava approached him differently now. No dramatics, no hysterics, just honesty wrapped in fear. One evening, as the children played upstairs, she sat across from him at the dining table. I'm scared, she said quietly. Of what? That you've already decided. He met her gaze steadily. I haven't. But you're drifting, she whispered. I can feel it. I'm thinking. I know, and that's what scares me. There was no manipulation in her voice, no blame, just recognition. In therapy the following week, Dr. Grant asked Ava, "Why did you cheat instead of confronting your loneliness directly?" Ava inhaled slowly. "Because confronting it would have meant admitting our marriage wasn't enough," she said. "And I didn't want to break it. I just wanted relief." Liam studied her profile as she spoke. Relief, temporary, self-focused. "And now?" the therapist asked. "Now, I'd choose the hard conversation," Ava said, voice shaking, "not the escape." Liam's jaw tightened slightly. "You're saying that because you got caught," he said calmly. Ava didn't deny it. "Yes," she admitted, "getting caught forced clarity." The honesty landed harder than defensiveness would have. One night, after putting the kids to bed, Liam stood in the doorway of their bedroom. He hadn't slept there in weeks. Ava looked up from the bed. "Are you coming in?" He hesitated, then stepped inside and sat at the edge of the mattress. "I need to ask you something," he said. "Anything." "If this had never been exposed, would you have eventually told me?" She closed her eyes. "No." The word hurt, but it also clarified. "Why?" "Because I didn't want to lose you." "You risked losing me anyway." "I know," he nodded slowly. "That's what I'm trying to understand," he said. "You say you love me, but when loving me required discomfort, you chose someone else." Her shoulders trembled. "I chose weakness," she whispered, "not him." He absorbed that. Weakness. Not destiny, not soulmates. Weakness. The decision didn't come in a dramatic moment. It formed quietly, like frost creeping across glass. Liam realized something one afternoon while watching Mason practice reading at the kitchen table. His son stumbled over a word, frustrated. "Sound it out," Liam encouraged gently. Mason tried again, slower, patient. When he got it right, he looked up with pride. Liam felt a sudden, piercing clarity. He wanted to model strength, not resentment, not quiet suffering, strength. That night, he asked Ava to sit with him. She folded her hands tightly in her lap. "I've thought about this carefully," he began. She didn't breathe. "I believe you regret it," he said. "I believe you understand the damage." Tears slid silently down her face. "But regret doesn't rebuild respect," he continued. "And I can't teach our kids what partnership looks like if I stay in something I don't fully believe in." Her face crumpled, not dramatically, but as if something internal had collapsed. "So that's it?" she whispered. He shook his head gently. "It's not anger. It's not revenge." "Then what is it?" "Clarity." The words settled between them like a final signature. "I don't hate you," he said softly, "but I don't trust the foundation anymore. And rebuilding it would require me to ignore parts of myself I'm not willing to silence." She reached for his hand. He let her hold it. For a moment, then gently withdrew. "What happens now?" she asked, voice barely audible. "We separate," he said. "We do this respectfully, for the kids, for ourselves." She nodded slowly, absorbing the inevitability. "I never thought one mistake could cost this much," she murmured. "It wasn't one mistake," he replied evenly. "It was a pattern." The precision in his voice wasn't cruelty. It was acceptance. That night, Liam returned to the couch, not as exile, but as transition. Upstairs, Ava lay awake, staring at the ceiling. For the first time, she understood something fully. The affair had never been about love. It had been about filling a silence. And now, the silence was louder than ever. Downstairs, Liam closed his eyes. The pain was still there, but beneath it, something steadier had taken root: self-respect. And sometimes, that is the only foundation strong enough to begin again. The paperwork was thinner than Liam expected. 12 pages, margins, signatures, dates, years of shared history reduced to structured language, irreconcilable differences, joint custody, division of assets. There was no dramatic courtroom scene, no shouting, no public collapse, just two adults sitting across from a mediator on a Tuesday morning while rain slid quietly down the office windows. "Are you both in agreement?" the mediator asked gently. Liam looked at Ava. She looked smaller somehow, not physically, but in certainty.
Yes, Liam said. Ava swallowed. Yes. The word felt heavier for her. Not because she disagreed, but because she understood. They told the children together. That had been Liam's condition. No blame language, he had said. No details. Just stability. Mason sat cross-legged on the living room rug, listening with serious eyes far too old for his age. "So Daddy's getting another house?" he asked. "Yes," Liam said, "but you'll have a room there too." "Did someone do something bad?" Ava's throat tightened. Liam answered calmly. "Sometimes adults make choices that mean they can't live in the same house anymore. But we both love you. That doesn't change." Mason nodded slowly. Children accept reality faster than adults when it's delivered clearly. That night, Ava cried in the bathroom with the shower running to muffle the sound. Not because Liam had left, but because she understood the cost of what she had chosen 3 months earlier in a fluorescent-lit gym. It had felt small then, private. Now it echoed through custody schedules and shared calendars. Liam moved into a modest townhouse 15 minutes away. Smaller kitchen, no backyard, thin walls. But when he set up Mason's new bed and placed framed photos on the dresser, something shifted inside him. This space wasn't a failure. It was a boundary. The first few nights alone were brutal. The silence wasn't shared anymore. It was absolute. He almost reached for his phone once, out of habit, not longing. Then he stopped. Loneliness wasn't the enemy. Avoidance was. Ava stayed in the house. At first, she thought the familiarity would comfort her. Instead, it accused her. The kitchen island where Liam had stood, steady and controlled. The bedroom mirror where she had heard his voice say, about Noah. She considered texting Noah once, not to rekindle anything, just to feel less alone. She didn't. The fantasy had dissolved the day Liam met him. Noah had been escape. Liam had been foundation. And she had mistaken the difference. Weeks passed. They adjusted. Shared custody schedules became routine. Drop-offs were civil, polite. One afternoon, while exchanging the kids in the driveway, Ava said quietly, "Are you okay?" Liam considered the question honestly. "I'm healing," he said. She nodded. "I'm sorry," she added. "I know." It wasn't reconciliation. It was recognition. Therapy continued individually. Liam unpacked not just betrayal, but identity. Why had he equated love solely with provision? Why had he ignored emotional erosion in favor of financial security? He reduced his night driving, took one evening a week off entirely, not for dating, for himself. He began running early mornings instead of calculating bills before sunrise. His exhaustion shifted from depletion to discipline. Self-worth, he realized, wasn't measured in overtime hours. It was measured in boundaries kept. Ava returned to part-time marketing work. The first time she sat in a small conference room presenting a campaign concept, her hands trembled. Not from incompetence, from rebuilding. She wasn't the woman from Instagram. She wasn't the woman from the gym. She was someone quieter now, more aware of consequences. Regret didn't dominate her days anymore. Responsibility did. One evening, months later, they attended Mason's school recital. They sat in separate seats, clapped at the same moments. When Mason spotted them both in the crowd, his smile widened. Afterward, in the hallway filled with proud parents and bouquet wrappers, Ava stood beside Liam awkwardly. "You look different," she said softly. "How?" "Lighter." He thought about that. "I feel clearer," he replied. She nodded. "I'm trying to be better," she said.
"For who?" he asked gently.
"For myself." That was the first answer that didn't center him, and strangely, it brought him peace. As they walked toward the parking lot, a cold breeze cut between them. Not hostile, just real. "Do you ever think we could have saved it?" Ava asked quietly. Liam paused beside his car. "I think we could have saved parts of it," he said honestly, "but not without pretending something fundamental hadn't broken." She absorbed that without argument. "I don't hate you," she said. "I don't hate you either." There was no romantic undercurrent in the exchange,
no unresolved longing, just shared history acknowledged. Later that night in his townhouse, Liam stood by the window watching distant traffic lights blink red to green. He no longer replayed hotel timestamps in his mind. He no longer imagined alternate endings. He understood something now with quiet certainty. The affair had not destroyed him. It had revealed him, revealed what he would tolerate,
What he valued, what he required to feel whole.
Across town, Ava lay in the house that once symbolized permanence. She understood something too. Loneliness doesn't justify betrayal. Validation doesn't equal love. And attention borrowed from absence always comes due. They had not chosen separation out of anger. They had chosen it out of truth. And truth, though painful, had given them something unexpected. Dignity. Not the glossy kind that appears in holiday photos, but the quiet kind that lets you look at yourself in the mirror without turning away. In the end, love had not survived in the shape it once held, but self-respect had. And sometimes that is the only ending that allows a new beginning.